we must turn to God in prayer. God never ceases to guide his church, to sanctify its members, and to protect it from harm. Once again, still, we turn to our Lord Jesus Christ, our high priest, to find consolation and strength in the Word and in the sacraments. Tonight, until the end of this horrible scandal in the church, we must express our sorrow to God and pray that the church will find renewal, hope, and purification of its very core and spirit. And so we grieve together in sorrow as we bless the water that can purify our prayers, reminding us of our baptism. Jesus teaches us that the mark of a good shepherd is that he lays down his life for the sheep. The willingness to love sacrificially. The people of God and all those we encounter in the name of Christ to put their welfare before our own is the foundation of our ministry of service to you. This is not something that I or any of my collaborators in pastoral ministry can accomplish unaided by God's grace. We rely on your prayers, which I am grateful for. Please continue to pray for the church and for all the men and women in our diocese who have pastoral responsibility. But I am also hopeful by your presence and desire to make the necessary changes in the church. We need your participation in rebuilding this church. Last week, we celebrated the feast of St. Francis, a man who sat in the dilapidated chapel of San Damiano. And the Lord said, "Francis, go rebuild my church, which is in ruins." My friends, it is interesting to note that when the church is in crisis, our God raises up saints. We need to rebuild this church. As members of his body, each of us was anointed by our baptism as priests, prophets, and kings. As I began this ceremony, I stripped myself of all the symbols of the episcopal office, stood before you in simply my vow, the symbol of baptism. It is in baptism that we are called to be priests, prophets, and kings, and work together as God's holy people. In this moment, we are called upon to act, to rebuild the church. As sharers in Christ's priestly ministry, let us do our part to intercede in prayer for the healing of victims and for the reform of the church. As sharers in his prophetic ministry, let us do our part to confront the reality of evil and corruption in our church and demand meaningful and systemic change. As sharers in Jesus' kingly ministry, let us do our part to bind up the wounds of those who have been harmed and to work together to rebuild our church so that we may be authentic witnesses to Christ and the good news. May our merciful shepherd bind the wounds of all those who have been wounded and harmed. And may the one shepherd gather us and all who have been scattered into one flock. And may our loving shepherd heal every division and lead us forward in his peace and in his love. Amen.